Hey everyone, Sakriyasan here. Now, to keep this video from being too visually boring, I'm gonna go ahead and play a video of me painting while I talk over it. Now, by far, the most asked question I get in private messages and emails and anything is, what tablet should I buy? Or, you know, what tablet's better to buy? Should I get a Cintiq? It's almost always revolving around tablets. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this. Now, I have to start off by saying I've only used two types. Well, I've used a Cintiq, I've used an Intuos 4, an Intuos 3, and then a couple of Graphirs. So, and an iPad. But I haven't used like a Bamboo. Never used a Bamboo, so I don't know. But I'll do my best and explain just from my opinion. Maybe someone else has another opinion, it's fine. But I'll go ahead and just discuss what I've found from using tablets. Pretty much the first thing is that whatever you have, whatever you get, whether it's a tablet or a Cintiq, whatever you practice on the most, you're going to get used to it. So for me, I started out with a Wacom Graphire, and that's like this. It was 4 inches by 6 inches, or 6 inches by 4 inches, and yeah, so it's tiny. I think Bamboos are around the same size. But yeah, so I used that, and it took me about a week to get used to it. But I thought it was great. Right away, I was really amazed by how I could draw on the tablet and it would appear on the screen. So I was drawing quite a bit for a week, and then I finally got it so my hand-eye coordination was all right. So I could, you know, draw, and then it would appear, and I could kind of control it. When I first started, I really couldn't control it at all. Everything looked terrible, but it's just a matter of practice. So it took me a week. It might take you less or more, but in general, the more you use it, the more familiar you'll get with it. Now, the other thing is, because I used a tablet so much, it was maybe 10 years before I tried the Cintiq. Because of that, I actually didn't care much for the Cintiq. I was so used to not seeing my hand drawing, so my hand is drawing on the tablet surface, and then I'm just looking at the screen, and I got so used to that I didn't really like using the Cintiq and having my hand in the way. But again, that's really because I started off using tablets. If I had started off using a Cintiq, or if I had gotten a Cintiq not too long after getting my tablet, I'm sure I would be telling you a different thing entirely. But I've heard people on either side. I've heard people who prefer using a tablet and people who prefer using Cintiq. But something I did encounter that is noteworthy is the size. So I mentioned I started out using a 6x4 inch Graphire tablet, and that was fine for a while, but the more I used it, you know, when I moved from maybe drawing from 1 hour a day to 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day, I noticed I was getting wrist pains. And this is because the tablet's area is really small, and it doesn't really allow you to use your arm, like your elbow or your shoulder, to draw. And I've mentioned this before in other videos, but I really like using my arm to draw. It helps to get much better lines. Your flow gets better. You don't like make chicken scratchy marks. So yeah, I was getting wrist pains from using the smaller tablet, and then I upgraded to my Intuos 3, which is 12 by 9 inches, and since then I've never had any problems at all. So which tablet you get kind of depends on how much you're going to be using it. Again, I didn't even have any problems with the smaller tablet until I was using it more and more. So if you're doing this for a hobby and you're gonna put in a few hours a week and not much more than that, then go for a small tablet. Or if it's your first tablet and you're not sure whether you'll like it or not, I think it's better to put down something under $100 and try it out. If you are a professional or an aspiring professional, you want to be professional, or you're like a full-time student, then I would recommend going with either an Intuos or a Cintiq. Now, there's other brands, like there's Genius tablets, but the thing is, I just haven't used any of them, so I can't say either way. But some of them look like they have good specs, so try it. Maybe the store you get it from has a return policy where you can like try it for a couple of weeks and then return it if you don't like it. And so let me go ahead and discuss this other thing. Sometimes people ask me, should I get a Wacom or a Cintiq? Now, the thing is, Wacom is a company that makes Intuoses and Bamboos and Cintiqs and whatever, so pretty sure they're asking, should I get an Intuos or a Bamboo or a Cintiq? Again, going back to my earlier statement, it depends what you're used to, but okay, so obviously these people aren't used to either of them. Then it depends on your budget. I'm pretty sure if you've never used a tablet before and you've just been drawing traditionally, then it's going to be easier for you to go from that to a Cintiq. But you got to remember, Cintiqs are about 4 or 5 times more expensive than even the large Intuos. And speaking about price, I got all my tablets, well, my Intuoses anyway, I got them off eBay, and they were around $100 cheaper, and they were still like new, in good condition. So if you are going that route, check it out, because it saves you a lot of money. So anyway, so back to the Cintiq. Yeah, if you can afford it, seems like a good option. Now there's a newer Cintiq that came out recently, and it looks really awesome. The only negative criticism I've heard about it is that it's really heavy, and I think it gets hot fast, but other than that, it seems really nice. So hey, if you can afford it, go ahead. And if you can't, then don't worry if at first you're uncomfortable using a tablet, because after a while you'll get comfortable and it'll be all right. Now I've also used an iPad, and again, I've heard different things from different people, and I think it comes down to what you're used to. So because I'm used to using a tablet for so long, for me it just doesn't cut it with an iPad. I don't feel it's accurate enough, and to get it accurate I tend to have to position it very vertical, and I tend to like to hold, like if I'm drawing on a sketchbook, I hold it in my arm usually, or I have it at an angle. So for me personally, especially because of the styluses which have this fat tip to them, I didn't like using an iPad. But with that said, that's just my opinion. I've heard of people who think it's great and it's convenient to use an iPad or any other, like an Android tablet or even a smaller tablet PC. Yeah, so the other question I get is, will getting a tablet help me draw better? No. It's not going to help you draw better at all, in my opinion, because it's I don't see how it's easier than just drawing with a pencil and a paper. So for me, and I'm doing this more now, I draw my sketchbook and then I scan it in and I'll draw over it in Photoshop, and then I'll color that. I do also, of course, draw in Photoshop right away, but it's not easier. Painting, however, is a different story. And with that, it's not really that it's easier than painting with, say, acrylics or oils, because they all require the same knowledge. You still need to know about values, you need to know about edges, color, proportion, and all that. The thing is, it's just faster. When I used to do oil painting, a big part of it was the cleanup, washing the brushes and cleaning my palette and all that, and it would take a lot of time. And if you're aiming to be a professional, deadlines are getting shorter and shorter, because people expect you have a tablet or you have a Cintiq, and they expect you're doing this digitally. So with the exception of a few people, most people are using digital now, and that's just the way it is. And it's just, again, it's faster. If there's any mistakes, they're easier to fix. So yeah, it's mistakes that are easier to fix, but it's not going to be easier to paint. So the last thing I want to mention is a difference between the Intuos 3 and the Intuos 4 tablet. The Intuos 3 has half as many pressure sensitivity, half as much pressure sensitivity as the Intuos 4 or the Intuos 5. I've never used the Intuos 5, so I can't comment on that. But I personally use an Intuos 3. I have an Intuos 4 as well, but the reason I use my Intuos 3 is I actually prefer the surface. The Intuos 3 has a smoother surface, and it's just something I got used to. The Intuos 4 is more like paper almost. It's kind of textured, and it's got this really thin waxy coating on it, and something that happens because of that is your pen nibs wear out much faster than the Intuos 3, where my nibs like last a year, and with the Intuos 4, when I was using it, they'd run out after like a month. But I've been assured by friends of mine that after you use the Intuos 4 a lot, the surface will change and it will become extremely smooth like glass. So yeah, I guess it's not really a concern if you use the Intuos 4 a lot, and actually that's one of the selling points of the Intuos 4, is that it has this textured surface. So I think that's it. Pretty much that's just what I want to say, and hope it answers your questions, and thanks for watching.